Start that
You
again.
know what? I was muted. I was just pretending. No, yeah, it wasn't anything wrong with you, with your phones or whatever you're watching. It was me. Okay, Scott had me muted. I'm not going to take offense to that at all. But welcome to Trail Talk at the Chisholm Trail Heritage Center here in Duncan, Oklahoma. We are so glad you guys could join us today. I'm Edie, and this is our very special guest, Jilli Jones. We are so excited to have Jilli here. I see Jilli's cousin and her mom. Hello. Hello, Mrs. Bethany. I don't know if you remember me or not, but you taught at least one of my kids at one point. So I'm going to apologize now. I might have apologized then, but I'm going to apologize now too. Anyway, we are so excited. Jilli is here. Jilli is a professional photographer. And I think I'm just going to ask her a few questions to kind of kick us off because if you're watching, chances are you're from this area, you might know Jilli or at least have known her at some point. So, Jilli, tell us about, like, you were raised here in Duncan, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay,
yes.
So talk about that just a little bit.
Sure. I was raised outside of Duncan on a cattle ranch farm, and we had a very large family and lots of land and lots of creative inspiration to get things going, I guess.
Okay, so a large family, a lot of siblings?
A lot of siblings, a lot of cousins. My great-grandparents and grandparents all lived in the Duncan area. So
Okay.
It was just always at a grandparent's house or a great aunt's house or just somewhere within the family.
So lots of deep family connections
Yes.
then around here.
Yes.
Okay, and so I guess you went to Duncan Public School
I did.
all through school years, graduated, and
Yes.
you went to college.
I did.
Where'd you go to school?
I started my freshman year at the University of Central Oklahoma,
Okay.
and I majored actually in photography. And then, like many college kids, I changed my degree. And
okay,
then that
yeah.
prompted me to transfer universities. And I ended up finishing out at Oklahoma State University.
Okay, very good. And so what was your degree then whenever you graduated?
I graduated with a degree in individual, family, and community services.
That's a long one. Yeah.
With an emphasis in gerontology.
Okay.
It's a mouthful.
Oh, you're right. Okay, so kind of had a kindred feeling for our senior adults then, that
Yes.
senior adult community.
Definitely.
Okay, but obviously that is not where your career, I mean, that's not where you are today. So
That's right.
how did you get from a degree over here to what's going on now?
That's a great question.
Okay.
So I think a lot of the beginning of wanting to do art is something that has been near and dear to me since I was a child. And if I wasn't outside, I was inside coloring, drawing. So just art in general has always been a big component of my personality. But going back to even family, just that community and the roots of our childhood and being there for family, I think as an adult, I just felt a calling to service. So as much as I wanted to do art, I tried 3 different degrees of art. I bounced around a lot. I could not make up my mind, but I did know that, there's also a part of life that's also about helping others. And so it just felt like something I needed to focus on, and I could really contribute given the family dynamics that I grew up in. That was really awesome, healthy, enriching. And so I wanted to give back that way.
Right.
But there's that art side. We all have, a side of us that just really wants to come out, and that was the arts. And so I'd say in my mid-20s, I was just ready to really go for it back into art. And that's when I began my continuing education in art, fine art photography. And then it got me To hear, I guess.
to where you are
Yeah.
today. Okay, well,
It's a
let's,
mouthful.
but yeah, no, I mean, you know, I think it might be encouraging to young people who feel like, you know, this is where I should go. We have such high expectations of young people to be able to decide where they want to do for the rest of their life and spend thousands and thousands of
Yes.
dollars on an education. And then, you know, a few years later, you're like, you know, this isn't what I thought it was going to be, or man, I did not pick the right, you know,
Yes.
there's something else I need to be doing. So I think it's encouraging to hear that someone, you know, was able to go ahead and fulfill that education side and then actually just go a completely different direction. I'm sure there are things you learned that you use every day in life. You know, it wasn't like it was completely wasted.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
Yes.
I don't think that that's a terrible thing at all. I think it's just a way of, we get through life,
Oh, definitely.
you know?
I think that's so true. And we do change over time. And I think that's a big
Mhm.
piece is you know, having, you know, compassion for yourself when you feel like, hey, you know, I took this direction, but I'm feeling that I'm not really honoring my soul self, you know,
Mhm.
and then to, you know, make a switch and to feel good about that and to know that the choices made before, well, those had purpose as well. So,
Right, exactly. But I mean, not to just blow past all that, but I do think that we are all going to be just so thrilled that Jilly ended up choosing what she chose and really throwing her life into it, because her photography is just amazing. And I think you guys are all going to really love it. We are going to start, we're going to move over here.
Sure.
This is one we're going to get to, we know, but we're going to start with this piece right here. And um, I hope you guys, I don't know if you can really appreciate this or not. In fact, I'm going to change the angle a little bit so it's a little bit straight on more with the, um, because I think it does it. There we go. That's a little bit better. Tilt it down just a hair more there, Scott. There we go. Look at that. I know you guys recognize that as an Oklahoma sky, right? So talk to us about this piece, Jilly.
Sure. So this has been a really fun series I've been working on since Clancy and I moved back to Oklahoma in 2018. So I have been documenting the sunsets of Oklahoma off and on for, gosh, now it's, I guess next year will be going on 3 years.
Oh, wow.
So
wow.
It is hard to do every night, but it is pretty spectacular when you can dedicate yourself to even a week to get outside at that certain time. And it's just amazing how much shifts and changes there are in clouds and the patterns and just nature in general. So it's also a good reason to get outside and not be in front of the computer all the time or the television.
Right. That is so true. So you've been taking all of these pictures of sunsets.
Yes.
What are you going to do with all of those?
That's a great question. So what I'd like to do with these is, of course, have them available for purchase. And then I would like to put all of them, compile them into a book. So like a coffee table book of Oklahoma sunsets, and just flip through the pages, and hopefully it'll relax people when they look at it. And there'll be some that they, you know, absolutely gravitate towards. I think different colors, everybody has a favorite sunset. So I think it'd be something really nice to do and to represent our state. We have a really, really spectacular state, and our sunsets are incredible.
Yes, that is absolutely the truth. Anytime we travel, whenever it's time for the sun to start setting, I mean, it never fails. I compare what I'm seeing to what I have grown up with, what I have lived around my whole life. And most of the time they pale in comparison. I mean, there are other places that are nice and flat and you get the, you know, but man, there's just something about the Oklahoma sunset. I just think that is such a lovely idea. So how do you I'm gonna pull this to
Sure.
the side a little bit so it doesn't get in our next picture quite as much. Oops, sorry about that.
Oh, that's all right.
So whenever you're coming up with an idea, like a marketing idea,
Yes.
like you have for this, what kind of goes through your head? How do you get that idea and, kind of process all of that?
Sure. Well, I think it originally started with just enjoying the sunset for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And then over time, I just realized I was taking a lot. And then it felt like something very special if it was for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
So I think when you start doing art, if there's something where it feels like a large series, that in itself could be, transferred into something like a book.
Mm-hmm.
And versus maybe you're in a moment in Colorado and it was that one trip and
Right.
you had 4 pictures out of it that really stood out.
Mhm.
That in itself might be something you would do more for prints, and create a series out of that. So that's
Right.
kind of depending on the volume or
Uh-huh.
where I think it's going to go, if it's going to be continual
Mm-hmm.
or if it's just has an ending spot to it. So like a
Right.
trip, that was the end of the trip. So therefore the series, that one could have an ending point there.
Mhm.
So print might be good for that.
Right. Okay. And she brought some prints that we're going to look at
Yes.
a little bit
Yes.
later. So yeah, that we've got a great variety today. So how have you learned? Because you don't have business. I didn't hear you say business in any of your college
Yes.
studies. How have you learned the business side of all of this? I mean, I feel like that has to be a very important part of what you're doing.
Definitely. That's a great question. So I think one of the benefits for me personally and my personality was maybe not finishing as an art major and working in industries where there was services, there were products, and understanding value and understanding business. I did some jobs out of college, sales, had some marketing jobs. So those helped me to understand the nature behind something like a product or a service. And then of course, my father, he's an entrepreneur. He has a little bit of everything going on. And I think that nature, that was just really captivating to me as a young kid and then as an adult in business, to be able to put yourself out there, take the risk for the reward.
Right.
And so I think part of that is a little bit of what I had been versed in as a kid, and then just being out there and doing jobs outside of art and just learning kind of how the world works and business works.
Right. And I'm sure your dad probably loves it if you ask him a question or two now
Oh
and
my
then.
gosh. Yes.
I mean,
I'm like, Dad. They
yeah,
never, it's
what
like all the
parent
time.
doesn't love it when your adult child asks your advice on something, So that's awesome that you have this built-in mind for business,
Well, thank you.
through him. So let's talk about this piece. I kind of really like this piece right here.
Well, thank you. This is a very quaint, very minimalistic, maybe desolate image. This is in Valentine, Texas. And when Clancy and I started dating, he wanted to take a trip and he wanted to take me down to West Texas. And so we went down there and just fell in love with the landscape. And I guess our love evolved too from the trip, but just
and Valentine.
yes, right.
Nice move, Clancy.
Good
Clancy's on the
one.
sidelines over there. Good one, man.
It's a fun little quirky little artsy funky community. So this is an art installation out in the middle of nowhere. So it's a Prada, like the brand. And I mean, there's nothing around. And so it's just a quirky little piece.
It's not a real store. It's just a piece of art. That is so cool.
So there are some different pieces in this area. So there's in Texas, this is kind of a hotspot hub for artists to go out to and get inspiration and hang out. And it's just so much fun.
Wow.
So this was from one of our first trips down there. And we even wrote a song together while we were down there and had the photos, and later looking back and kind of putting photos with the lyrics and stuff has been a really neat thing.
Oh,
So.
yeah, I bet. Wow. And, nice try, Texas, on the sky, but you just can't top Oklahoma.
Can't top
Yeah,
Oklahoma.
We'll give you second place. Oh, that is so cool. I mean, the more I was looking at it, I thought, well, it looks like a store, but that looks like a weird back
What is
door
that?
right there that's just open or something. And that is really cool. And so is this just a little explanation,
Yes.
little thing there?
Tells a
Because
little bit.
it looks like one of those historical markers. That's what that
Yes,
looks like to me.
yes.
So
It's definitely, I mean, I don't know how many people are going to be, out and about in West Texas, but if you are in that area, it's a great little area to go visit, which would be Valentine, Marfa, Terralingua, which is in Big Bend National Park. So it's just
Okay.
all in that area. It's beautiful.
okay.
But we kind of gravitate towards the desert for inspiration. So
Mhm.
I think that's something.
Yeah, some of her the other pictures we'll see in a little bit are the smaller prints are a lot of cool desert
Thank you.
pictures. Yeah, those are awesome. All right, so talk to us about this one, because this one does not look like that's a photograph
It's a
at
photograph.
all, but
Mhm.
she's telling us that it is a photograph. So explain how you were able to create something that looks like this.
Sure. So this one's a really fun one because this is actually just a piece of debris metal that I found on our family farm. I call it like the farm cemetery, where like all scrap pieces and stuff are, put to bed in a sense. And you can find some of the coolest stuff and texture. And so a particular piece I found was rusted and old, and then I just found patterns in it. I just saw something that looked, like it could be something beyond just metal and dried up paint and holes and stuff. So I think sometimes seeing stuff beyond what meets the eye. So I just felt like there was a lot of opportunity to do something special with it. In post-production with graphic design. So
right. Okay. So this was a piece of metal, and then you used your graphic design to add the color,
yes,
the swooshes, and the design, and all of that.
So a lot of the swooshes were already built into some of the faded like paint and metals.
Okay. So it did have paint on it.
Some of it did. So it was just going in, and I think the key with a camera is to not feel like you have to always stand far away. And for me, getting up close, sometimes you start seeing stuff, you start seeing patterns, for me personally. And so I just saw something that I felt could be maybe an abstract, relaxing piece of work and have some negative space, but some texture here. And the beauty of this is you can spin it any way you like it. So for me, I did it this way, but if aesthetically you enjoy it horizontal, you can flip it around. So that's another great way to kind of make art feel, enjoyed a little more.
Right.
And maybe because I didn't have an attachment to a particular way it needed to be, I want people to have that option and not feel like it has a specific way it was done. I flipped it around a lot in post-production to see it from different perspectives as well.
Right. Okay. So there were a few things that you said in that.
Yes.
One, I just want to point out, if you see something and you think you see more than what is the naked eye sees, go with it. Be creative and let that just carry you along. I mean, that's how this beautiful piece of art came about. Jilli just let her imagination just kind of go, and she took a picture, and I'm guessing you took a picture and then finished it on a computer.
Yes.
So, I mean, what fun, and what it amazes me when artists see things that aren't there, but you're able to allow me to see what you saw by creating this. And I just love that whenever someone is able to, take that from in your head to out and produce it for other people to see. The second thing is she said negative space and texture. Those are elements of art. And so I feel like your art education kind of came out right there, but those are important things that we try to teach whenever we do art classes or do a field trip here.
Mhm.
We always teach art and we talk about the elements of art that are used in the picture. And so I love it whenever I hear someone refer back to those very basic things of art, just to show you that if you took an art class in middle school or high school or whatever, and you heard those words and you just kind of blew them off, think about what you were learning, because at some point in your life you may be able to appreciate those elements of art even more. I mean, way
Yes.
more than a middle schooler. I'm not putting, massive hopes on a middle schooler at all. But, and then the other thing I wanted to ask, is this piece available for sale? I mean, you talked about the person owning this.
Yes.
How do you market or sell? Like, is this actual piece or is this something you would reproduce for someone?
That's a great question. So this would be reproduced. These are just more of our sample pieces. And right, we have been doing for a little bit just by commission, if somebody has something they want for their home, or if there's something somebody saw online and they would like to purchase. But ultimately, with everything that's going on, we are shifting to e-commerce. So we will eventually, hopefully 2021, have a web shop on our website where people can go in and purchase. And we'll have some different size options and different printing options, whether that be canvas or paper, or framed. So there'll be like a 3 option. So it can be a
Very
one-stop
nice.
shop for people when they're purchasing.
Very nice. I love hearing the upside of the pandemic, don't you guys? People getting creative and expanding their business. And I love it. I love to hear those things.
Thank
Okay, so be looking in 2021. We'll put the Cactus and Petal website and all that on in our comments on this on Facebook. So if you're not sure what we're talking about, the e-commerce is not ready yet, but it sounds like it's on its way. Yes,
It's getting there.
yes. All right, let's talk about this piece. This is just really, the colors are awesome.
Well,
I love
thank
this.
you. This is another fun little area that Clancy and I traveled to, Presidio, Texas. So this is right on the border of Mexico and Texas. And there's just, I love the cultural melting pot right there of the Texas history and the Mexican history. And it's just shown in the architecture, it's shown in the food, it's wonderful. And so we drove by this quaint little cathedral, and I just, don't be afraid to stop and get out of the car. That intuitive gut feeling like, I see something, I want that. I see something I could do. And it normally starts for myself, but then it's fun to think that over time it can be for others too.
Right.
So yeah, we just really liked it. It just kind of had a warm, feeling to it. And I love the old,
Yeah.
the lights hanging, and
Yeah.
it's attached to here.
It looks like the rosary. It looks like a rosary,
Yeah,
doesn't it? With the lights and the
totally
crosshairs.
does. It's just has one of those elements that, makes it different, and a different definitely for our area. This is of course very common for this region, but again, since, a lot of us are not traveling, sometimes a photograph can be a wonderful escape too.
Yes.
For our imagination and just for, just for our own wellness, mental wellness too.
Right, exactly. So, you were talking about traveling.
Yes.
You left Oklahoma at some point to pursue your photography career. Is that right? Or was it?
Kind of.
Okay.
We grew up traveling to Colorado.
Your family?
Yes,
You go
my
there
family.
okay.
So I just remember seeing the mountains for the first time and saying, oh, I'm going to live there someday.
Right.
So
Right.
what might have been a joke, I guess, at like 8 or 9, I guess it became my reality. I really wanted it. So after college, I worked a couple of years, saved some money, and then packed my bags and moved to Colorado. And I wasn't intentionally thinking I would do anything with art at that point. I was really on a health and wellness kick and wanting to just kind of go that direction, work my degree in nonprofit with, working with the aging population and hike mountains and all that. And I got out there and I don't know, I just felt a whole new element of inspiration creatively. And so that's what later segued me into getting back into art classes and getting specifically into art continuing education classes and even Photoshop classes, because when I started photography, it was all film.
Oh,
So it
right.
was starting from
She's
scratch.
dating herself now,
I
guys.
know. So I had to get in there and kind of learn what I was not appealing to me when I was an art major. I loved the dark room. I loved the moving around and the processing, but I knew I really wanted to do photography, so I had to be able to change and adapt. So it was fun, and I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So
did you have a camera, like a starter camera? Like, I always like to
that's a
ask
good
photographers
question.
about like their
Yes.
camera progression.
Yes.
Kind of how'd that go?
Well, I think we all went through the phase of the point and shoot camera. So, I mean, to start digitally, that's what I had. And then I did save money and bought myself what felt like the fanciest camera ever. And I bought myself a camera with more attachment pieces where I could change out lenses, and it had different more options to process a photo, to capture a photo. And so that became, I think my first camera digitally was the Nikon D80. So that was a big investment. And then, because it's digital, I had to invest in a computer too. So it was like a lot of saving money and like, oh my gosh, this is the most expensive investment thing I've ever done. But it's been so rewarding because you see the results,
Right.
So
that is one of the fun things is, you can see right away. Plus, you can take a million pictures and you haven't blown through all that film.
Yes.
My husband kind of just has always taken pictures for fun, and he would do the double exposure. You take a picture and then roll the film backwards and then take another picture over that picture, and just all of those kind of crazy things. That's
so fun.
Yeah, but so much easier to do now with all of everything you have access to online and
absolutely
apps and all that. So anyway, I just think that's kind of interesting. And so now, do you have multiple cameras, or do you just have one with different lenses, or how does that work?
I have my one go-to. There's always like a backup camera in case like all else fails, you have something to fall back on. But I do have my main camera, and then various lenses based on what I'm trying to capture. And that's pretty much for my setup. And then of course there's artificial lighting that's beneficial at times, and then you have Mother Nature, the sun.
Right.
So you have her as well.
Yes, exactly. And if you go online to Cactus and Petal, you'll see some of her commercial, I guess is commercial photography the right term?
Sure.
Okay.
Yes.
Where she's taking pictures for different businesses, companies, things like that. And also the longboarders, or they longboarding down a mountain. There's some really great shots there. But so is that just a different setting on your camera that allows you to go from a still shot to big full action shots? Kind of explain that for the amateurs. My husband takes the pictures. I'm not so.
No, and that's the interesting thing. So with a camera, you have to look at it in today's modern world as a computer. It's so there's a lot of different settings. There's different lenses you might want to use to get a different angle. There are settings that are good for if you're going to shoot action versus something that's stationary, and things that are multiple things you're trying to highlight versus one image, something up close. So again, that is difference, just learning the camera. And so I recommend anyone to, if you are interested in photography, to take just a little tutorial class. It is wonderful. Everybody should have a camera. It's so fun. It's relaxing. It's for all of us, you know?
Right.
And I think that's probably, because it's just depending on what you want to photograph would determine how you would want to set your camera.
Okay.
So it's pretty cool. And I mean, there's always auto if you're first starting out. And I recommend if you shoot auto, get a notebook. And if you like what you photographed, how it looks, write it down, the settings. And then so over time, you don't have to rely on an automatic setting. You're metering all the time. You have, it's kind of a neat number system you always have going on in your head. Like
And
what
so
the setting
the
is.
setting will appear on the screen on the back of the camera.
Yes,
Is
the
that right?
screen or
I'm
up
going.
at the
Listen,
top.
I'm going
No,
back to
girl,
those
you're
of us
fine.
who know very little, so that you would record
Yes.
those settings off
Yes,
of that.
absolutely.
Okay.
So it's just something, and I learned that in film. So that was a great one because we, you know, there's to light meter. It's, and especially with film back then, you want to get your settings because you don't want to waste your film,
Yeah.
which that did happen.
Yeah.
When you start out. So the notepad's great, and you get that instant gratification off of a digital camera where you're like, oh my gosh, that's a great photo. And then you can write that number down and start understanding the settings, what they mean. And again, if you take a class on it, they'll really break it down to you what every function does and produces for a great quality photo.
Awesome. What great tips, right? I mean, oh my goodness, that's fantastic. I love all of that information.
Awesome.
Thank you. Well, let's look at this super cool, because I know you take great photography, but I feel like this was enhanced with some other
Yes,
things, maybe
definitely.
from Photoshop or something
That's
like that.
right.
Is that right?
That's right.
Okay, so tell us what you've done with this one.
So this one is was taken in Colorado, and this is right when you hit a certain elevation, there are no trees because it's just so harsh. So this is like right when this particular mountain had what am I trying to say? The trees, just the tree line came in, and so as you can see, these trees are very weathered and well worn.
Yeah.
But they are some of the oldest trees, the Bristol cones. So they're just spectacular, and they just they felt almost like, not that they're a person, but they had an element of energy on them. Like, oh my gosh, I just felt so compelled to go to it. So because of those emotions and feelings, it only made sense that the post-production would be more of a surreal type feeling, an enchanted feeling,
Right.
because that's really how I felt when I stumbled upon it. And so I just wanted to elevate that type of emotion in the person looking at it and bring in some colors that not necessarily we would see all the time, but definitely some of this, of course, the trees are that color, and we've seen trees and shrubs of that nature, but a sky like this, I can't say we've necessarily seen, but it brings some type of imagination, I hope, to people, and a feeling of beyond themselves and thinking creatively and feeling inspired.
Yes, enchanted. I feel like enchanted was the
Okay.
perfect word for that. Yeah. Because it just combines the realistic elements and the more, I don't know, just I don't know, pretend or kind of things together to
definitely it has a playful element to it, and I think that's nice. I think that's sometimes really fun to have in a space, so things don't have to always feel so real or so defined. This can be a little different and make you feel a little more imaginative.
Right. So Okay, so we made it all the way down here to Colorado,
Yes.
which was your place, but you don't live in Colorado
I don't live in
anymore.
Colorado anymore.
You're back in Oklahoma.
That's
so kind
right.
of take us back how you got back here, and not just
Sure.
Oklahoma, Duncan, Oklahoma.
Who
Jeez,
knew,
right?
right? I love it.
All
Well,
roads lead to Duncan.
That's
So
right.
I don't know. I'm making that up, but it sounded good.
Well, I liked it. Well, let's see. I started in after college, moving to Colorado, and then over time there, getting into photography, and then the action sports photography, and just living and loving the elements. And I don't know, I hit a point. I'd been there for almost 10 years, and I just felt like there were other areas of my life I wanted to put attention towards, and that being more about family. And I mean, I would see my family maybe twice a year, maybe 3 times if my parents drove up or something, but it was in a sense isolating too, with it being so far away.
Right.
And I don't know, it just seemed like a great time. And my father also had a couple of businesses. He was getting started here in Duncan, and it just seemed like a great time to come back and see what would come from it. So I packed my stuff up and came back to Duncan, and somewhere in that time, I weirdly met Clancy. You wouldn't think, but I mean, it's just again that intuition, and sometimes, and ego's a strange thing. I bring that up because sometimes the ego is not, you know, braggadocious or it's just this voice like, oh, but you need to stay and you should build out your career and you're doing so great and why leave it. But there was something on a soul level that was like, there's more to life than just working and find a little balance.
Right.
So I loved coming back because this is the best place I know how to chill out is Duncan,
Right.
the farmland, and there's just so much creative inspiration here. So it was just wonderful to kind of reboot life, and with that change I was able to finally focus on stuff like this, the fine arts, because there wasn't a lot of time to put towards working on the things that I really was starting to fall in love with photography. So that came with a little bit of stillness in my life and family support, of course.
Right.
So,
well, that's awesome. I mean, I know you're glad you're here, but aren't we all glad that Jilli's right here in Duncan now? Because I mean, we get to talk to you and hear from you all these great experiences and how all this has impacted the art that you are producing now, and just like and what the future, kind of the little glimpse of what you guys have planned. I mean, it's just awesome. So we're glad you're back too.
Oh, thank you. I love being back.
Let's look at some of these
these
smaller shots, pictures that you brought, and you kind of brought a couple of different types of
so this
pictures.
Is more portrait
There
work. I thought with the theme of what we're doing here at the Chisholm Trail Heritage Center, it'd be fun to show some of the portrait work we've done, and this in particular are of musicians, so singer-songwriters. And especially right now, that's one industry that has not opened back up. So I just think it's a great time to remind everyone to support music. And I get a lot of my inspiration, especially on the post-production side, by listening to music. It's always been like that. A playlist sets a mood. I will loop a song over and over if I'm feeling something from it. So I bring all that up because we need our musicians to not disappear because of everything that's going on in our world today. So
you want to put that under,
Scott?
Yes.
That'll work. That's a good idea.
So we'll start with this gentleman. This is Mr. Dickie Lee Irwin. He is based out of Austin, Texas, and he's originally from Hobbs, New Mexico. And this gentleman, he's just so photogenic. He's just so fun to take photos of. And he even has his own day in Austin, the Dickie Lee Irwin Day.
Wow.
So he's kind of got that timeless look. So I thought he might be fun. Like this could be somebody from maybe the turn of the century or something if it was converted to black and white.
Right.
So, but Dickie's a wonderful musician. He's been super supportive of our process through Cactus and Pedal. And then Clancy also getting into music full time. And so he was our neighbor for a little bit.
Okay.
In Austin, yes. So lots of guitar playing and songwriting and singing on the porch. It was really fun.
Wow.
Very cool.
Now, was that out in that strange little, what was the name of that place?
Talfordsville.
Talfordsville. Yeah. If you guys remember Clancy, when he was on Trail Talk, told us about this little quirky little artsy place.
So this is one of the characters,
Okay.
Dickie Lee Irwin. And you can find his music on iTunes. He's on Facebook. He's on Instagram. So his music's well worth checking out. And he sings about just all the nature, just, countryside and love and loss, all that good stuff.
Right.
Let's see. Well, this is a fun one. This was kind of, this one was the wild card this year. So the pandemic happened, and when things started to shut down, Clancy's show in Dallas, Texas was canceled. And there was a musician he was supposed to play with, and it was Carly Driftwood. And she actually was stuck in between Oklahoma and Texas. So we just told her if she wanted to, we extended our space. We have an extra room if you want to stay until we know what's going on. It was a really weird time because she had started her tour. And she did not know if she was going to have to go back to Nashville or if she was going to get to continue her tour. So while she was in town, we did some photos, and she's kind of got that country-esque 70s country look. So
she does.
And she's also a singer-songwriter. So check her out.
Yeah. And it is Driftwood her real name?
I don't know.
I think I'm just thinking, if your last name's Driftwood,
you're gonna be a country singer.
Yes, exactly.
I'm gonna say yes to that, and if not, I'm just gonna say yes to that.
Good choice. If that was
job,
not your
Carly.
last name, Carly, good choice, because that is awesome. That'll be easy to remember if you guys are looking that up.
Oh yes. And this is Randy, and it's Randall Conrad Olinger. He's really fun to see play live. He does the guitar, he sings, and he does the kick drum while he's playing. So he's a one-man band.
Wow.
And it's a very powerful thing to see when you see somebody, first off, with that much coordination and talent.
Yeah.
And then he has a great voice, and he writes his own music as well. And he's had a lot of Southern, blues sound to him. And he's recently been doing some stuff that has more of which I like, kind of more psychedelic sounds you might hear from the 70s and stuff. So just some different elements he's playing into his sound. And Randy's also a Navy vet, I believe. Is that? Yeah. So he served our country, and heck of a father as well, and husband. We know his wife and family, just a good all-around guy. So you can find Randy online, and he has rcoswamp.com.
RCO Swamp. Okay.
It's that swampy sound.
Yeah.
So he's fun to photograph. And then this is some recent photos we took. So with all this going on, this is some of the musicians that are going to be on Clancy's upcoming album.
Okay.
So this is Elijah Ford, and he is a very, very talented, incredible musician. So he is doing lead guitar, some rhythms, and also keyboard keys on Clancy's album. And he sings and he produces. So just
wow,
a super talented guy. And he does have his own music out right now, Elijah Ford, and he released a single October 23rd, I believe. So go to iTunes, check out Elijah Ford, and you can help support him by purchasing that single song that he just came out with. And it's really good. It's real airy and stuff. So I love it.
Are you adding these to the comments? Scott is on
Thanks,
it.
Scott.
Yeah, man, he is on it.
And this is Grant Wilburn, and and this is something we have to always think is the producer, the engineer behind all the songs we love, this is the guy that does it. So it was fun capturing him in his element and, you know, feet kicked up,
Right.
loves what he's doing, all the crazy chords, all the, so sometimes in bringing it back to photography, it's catching people in their elements sometimes is really awesome because you really
Yes.
see the nature of the person. So that's Grant, and he'll be producing the album, and he's worked with a lot of talented and well-known musicians out there. So we're just excited to see what he's going to do with
that's
Clancy's
awesome.
album.
Woohoo!
And last but certainly not least, this is Clint Kirby, and he's an Oklahoma native.
Okay.
And he is currently in Norman, and he plays for a lot of Oklahoma, Texas regional musicians at all different scales of music. And he's also a producer and just super, super talented as well. And he just had a birthday too. So happy birthday, Clint.
Okay. Well, there you go.
Yes. So definitely check him out, follow him online, and support this artist too. It's all awesome right now to do that.
Oh my gosh, that was great. Wasn't that so great? And I mean, great stories to go with the photography.
Yes.
And just, you know, it's just like you tie it all together and make it, it's just not just a picture of someone, you know, it's a photograph of a person and it represents their life.
Yes.
You know, that, I mean, that's really awesome. Let's look at some of those black and whites.
Yeah,
too.
we can. There's so many we can.
I mentioned to her earlier, she kind of made reference whenever she was talking about the first gentleman that she showed his picture, about choosing whether to use black and white or color. And so I was kind of talking to her about that. So what is your recommendation?
Sure.
When do you choose to do a black and white or?
Well, I think the neat thing about technology is that you can go back and revisit a photograph, and you can maybe start with it. This one in particular was, of course, color. And I really felt presenting it in color was what I wanted to do. But then, I mean, I was inspired by this place, and I just felt, let's see if we can pull together like a timeless element. So sometimes if something has an opportunity to remain the same. So for the instance, this area looks probably very similar to how it did 100 years ago. And so to keep it in that fundamental state of black and white, how we learned about imagery, our photographs. So I thought it'd be kind of nice to bring that element back into the photo. So if you had taking a photograph of your animal or something, and you wanted to create it in a portrait and pull it in close, and you know, it might feel nice to turn it to black and white and see if it kind of gives it that ageless look, like it's here forever, you know, it's been around, and someone might look at it and say, hey, how old is that photo? That's a really good photo, I like it. And color, you know, color is important too, because it provokes emotion. And sometimes color is really wonderful if there's a lot of information in an image, you know, where it's more environmental. The guy with the engineer with all the chords, to convert to black and white, we did that and we liked it. But then the color, you know, to see all the colors in the chords and the orangish lights in the room and just his skin tone and the shirt contrasting, it just seemed like looks really good in color. It just provokes a little more interest. So for these, I just thought they would be kind of fun. The interest might be making them black and white, because we haven't seen a lot of, I guess, black and white of this area.
This makes me think of like an old John Wayne movie. What you might see happening behind where the guys are riding horses or something. I mean, it truly looks like it probably did 100 years ago.
Yes. And I believe that's where a lot of his movies were shot, in this area, if I remember. I thought it was going to be another one, but just kidding. Oklahoma Cow.
Absolutely.
So this is a pretty fun one. And again, just growing up in nature, to work with an animal is really neat, and gauging its energy and your presence with it and how far that connection can go. And so it was pretty awesome that these cows in particular were very curious as much as I was. And so that kind of helps to create a little more of a story in it versus pulling far away in the image, pull up a little closer into the image and see a little more of the facial expressions of the cow.
Right.
So,
right. Yeah, that's
That's
great
an Oklahoma
picture.
cow.
Yes, it is. Curly hair on top and everything.
And then we have some Oklahoma cowboys. So it only made sense since we're here, you know, to show again that timeless feel and that, you know, the universal cowboy look. So these are a couple of our ranch hands, or I shouldn't say ranch hands, cowboys. There's the difference.
Okay.
And they go in, check on our cows, they move them, make sure everything's all good. They have, this is like potentially one of the lost arts of our American culture. So
that's true.
It's kind of sad to think, but
it's great to preserve it though.
Yes,
like this,
yes.
And, you know.
And so, yeah, buy locally, support your local farmers and ranchers, so we don't lose this art.
That's exactly right.
And then we have some Navajo cowboys. So this is back to Monument Valley area out in Utah, Arizona. And so this is one of those moments where you just stumble into and your gut's like, just go take a picture, just go talk to them. Don't override the ego saying, oh, don't go talk to strangers.
Right.
Sorry, kids, I didn't mean it like that. But
if you're all grown up,
if you're all
you can
grown
do
up
this.
and there are adults present now.
Right.
But it was just so awesome to meet these guys. And this little horse over here cracks me up. So there's a lot going on in this element.
It's almost like he's photobombing. He's just looking the other direction and popping up and behind.
And it was just
funny.
Yeah, it's just cool. You know, it's another form of, you know, our American culture and ranching and horse ranching for this particular area. And
I'm just noticing all the gear that the horse has on their saddle and everything, how it's just, I mean, it's updated, but it's still the basic same, you know, the saddle bag, all, you know, all the things that a cowboy would need. That hasn't changed all that much.
That's right. That's very true. So yeah, that's one of those just kind of put yourself out there and see what happens kind of thing. And again, just growing up in ag, going out into a field and being around animals, let's say horses, cattle, that's something that's a good feeling, you know, and to know boundaries with it, of course. But this particular area was just a wild horse ranch out in Monument Valley. So it was just spectacular, and all the horses were out and about and eating and chilling and galloping and playing. So
it's beautiful. It's just beautiful.
Really fun to be in it.
I wish we could see this last foot. It's like all 4 feet are off the ground at the same time, you know, capturing
in the air. This one's just chilling. There's just like some hidden horses here and there. But again, it's wonderful in colors, blue sky, the red dirt, but there's just something with what we were presenting. It just felt really fun to maybe somebody look at it and be like, when was that taken? So maybe.
So you have like quite a collection of these prints.
Yes.
But these are not available for purchase either right now.
They will be. If anybody's
Okay.
interested, of course you can contact us, and you can go through our website. We have just contact us page and give us your email, phone number, and a little bit of what you're interested in. And we could do some stuff to help locally until we get our website up and running. So
I was just thinking how, you know, some of these are the kind of pictures that people like to put in their home, depending on, you know, what their interests or likes are. And so I was just thinking that these would be kind of fun things to have for sale.
Well, thank you. Yes.
Make a great little stocking stuffer or something.
Heck yeah. There's still time.
That's right.
And this one might be hard to see, but I thought it's gooseneck is what I thought it was, but it might be the Horseshoe Canyon. Now I can't remember which one, but it was pretty dry when I went, and it's pretty close to the edge. So that's as far as I wanted to go.
Right.
Know your limits.
Yeah, exactly. That is breathtaking though.
but it's the canyons and it's just beautiful in this area. So again, since nobody's really traveling, that was another one. We can travel through these photos.
Yes.
So this is in Colorado. This is the Alamosa area where the sand dunes are. And so all the sand over thousands and thousands of years has blown and backed up to the edge of, there's a mountain range on the other side of this. So it's just blue sand within that area for thousands of years. And it's beautiful. And when it's good to travel, this is a great place to take family. We went here as kids, so it was fun to revisit as an adult and go play in the sand.
Right.
And there's just some really great imagery there. This is still part of Monument Valley. But again, it's just kind of a fun landmark of the U.S. And this is all the Navajo reservation area.
And I'm sure traffic was slow or non-existent when she hopped out of the car and stood right in the middle of the road.
That's right. There was nobody around. I don't think there really was.
Probably. I mean, there are no other cars anywhere else, so
it's
I'm
very
sure that's
desolate.
true. Yeah.
Beautiful though. It is gorgeous. Lots of inspiration. And then I think we're getting to the verticals.
Okay.
There we go. And this is just a famous little iconic cliff area. And we have the gentleman out there, cowboy on his, I believe that's a mule, not so much a horse, but I don't know. He was just piddling with his hat. So,
and it was a perfect shot.
Just have that camera ready. So it was really fun to capture that moment. And that's just somebody's just candid moments. And so no posing, because we were, quite a ways away from that. So.
Right. So you couldn't have caught that with your phone.
No iPhone.
That is kind of a fun thing that people who, we can just whip our phone out and take pictures, and we can change change it from color to black and white and different, do a few things on a phone. So that is fun. We were not going to produce a quality like this, but it is still fun to play and
definitely
maybe practice a little bit to see if it's something that you would be interested in pursuing before you invest in that camera and everything.
Well, and a phone is a really good tool to use even before you photograph a location. Scouting's important, and taking your phone, that iPhone, and snapping it if you like the aesthetics of it, especially if you're doing outdoors, or do you like, this scenario, and then that helps versus taking the big camera out and let me and then you have to upload it to the computer. So phones they can be very beneficial.
What a great tip. That is such a good idea.
Makes life a little easier at times when you want to just get out there and get back.
Especially if you're on a job or on a specific, looking for a specific thing, to have the right time of day for the natural lighting, for the natural lighting and all of those things. That's a really great idea.
Yes. So keep those phones, but also invest in a camera. This one was just wild because it's really hard to see, but these are the horses. So it's just tiny. You can see how massive the landscape is.
Wow.
And it's just beautiful out there. And the culture's so warm. Just everybody was so friendly around the town and talking to the cowboys, and it felt a lot, in a sense, like Oklahoma type, just nice people. What can I do to help? And so it was really neat to see that it's a shared cultural thing,
right?
American culture, in a sense. So
you're not missing the thunderstorm outside. That's the movie here at the Heritage
The movie
Center.
has started.
The movie is
Stampede.
Right
next door.
There's a stampede. They're coming after us. And this is just another one of the sand dunes, but again, just picturesque and gorgeous.
The big shadows.
Yes. And I love hard lines, and there's different times that can create its own little abstract look, or it can just really highlight.
Besides changing to black and white, were there other enhancements?
This is just making sure I didn't have a dirty camera lens. Keep your lens clean too.
Okay.
So there's less post-production.
Okay.
So
right.
yes, just pretty much converting, and there's different ways to convert to black and white too. So I like to customize mine versus using just a pre-made setting. So
Mhm.
you have a little more control on how you want that to work.
And so is Photoshop your
Yes.
go-to?
Yes, for
Okay.
any detail work, Photoshop is the way to go
Okay.
because there's just so many tools and there's about 1,000 ways to do the same thing.
Ah.
So that's where classes are good. I did take
Mhm.
classes in Colorado, but mainly the big ones were at Cameron University. So
Oh,
I
okay.
took graphic design classes
All
when I came
right.
back to Oklahoma because I wanted
Okay.
to venture into more of the graphic design world.
There you go. Shout out to
So-
Cameron right down the
Mhm,
road.
that's
Very
right.
good. Okay.
So let's see. Oh, and then we
Oh.
have this is in Texas. So this is where Clancy and I like to hang out.
Uh-huh.
And this is actually a place you can stay. And it is so much fun. And you
Uh-huh.
can do the safari tents, the teepees, and they have the old Airstreams also converted into like rentals, all on this cool piece of property.
Oh my gosh, how fun.
It is so fun. So again, it's that El Cosmico is the name of it, and just a fun place. So if you go down to the Marfa, Texas area, that's a great place to stay. And so
Okay.
lots, and you can camp too. We've camped as well, just brought our own stuff and
Mhm.
camped. Met some really nice people that we're still in touch with that were just strangers,
Uh-huh.
that day, and the next day we were all friends. It's
Oh,
just
cool.
a really neat place.
Wow. I love
Um,
it.
And then last but not least, the Sleepy Cowboy.
Uh-huh.
So, always be sure to look everywhere in your elements because I turned a corner and then there's Sleepy Cowboy
And there
by
he
himself.
is right there.
So,
Even has a kind of a bedroll right there on the horse. If you remember the lesson we did about cowboy gear, one of our very first trail talks, we talked about all of those things. I think that's so cool that you can see all of that. Big wide brim cowboy hat he's wearing there.
oh, yes.
Wow.
It is hot there.
Uh,
You definitely have to have a lot of water. You definitely have to have a hat there.
uh-huh.
And it's so dry, you don't even know that you're getting dehydrated when you're out
Oh,
there. Because
yeah.
it was so much fun. I was playing in the elements and then realized, oh my gosh, I need to drink water. I know I'm dehydrated. It's really hot.
Yeah.
and-
Oh my
So,
goodness.
I
Wow,
think
those
that's
were
it.
those
That's
were so
all.
fun. Wasn't that great, guys? I'm telling you. This has been such a fun trail talk. I hope you've had a really good time.
Yes,
Jilli?
I have.
Good. Jilli was afraid that she might not have enough to talk about, but I'm thinking we did
Did we
really
talk too
well.
much?
No, you can't talk too much, right? Am I right? Jilli, you're very talented, and we are just so blessed to
you.
have you here in Duncan again. I'm very excited to see how things change in 2021.
Thank you.
Clancy's album, how Cactus and Petal goes to e-commerce. I mean, so many exciting things. So guys, go to their webpage and look and see what's going on with them. Jilli and Clancy are investing in our area. And so we want to do our best to invest in them too. So, support them whenever you can.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. So everybody, it's time for us to say goodbye. And if you are muted, Charles, Janice, you guys unmute yourselves because on Trail Talk, we like to say happy trails together. Okay, there's Charles. Janice, come on. We want you to say happy trails with us too. Well, maybe she's
Uh-oh.
not going to. Well, that's okay. That's fine. So we'll just say happy trails together on 3, okay? 1, 2, 3. Happy
Happy
trails.
trails.
Bye, guys.